Hey everyone, it's Nathaniel here, and I have a question for everybody. What do money, self-esteem, and the material world all have in common? They're part of the Scorpio and Taurus axis. And I want to look at that axis today in those three areas, and I'm probably going to be all over the place because I'm going to show how they overlap and interpenetrate. Um, so the first thing on there, money. Money is such a classic Taurus thing. When you look for money stuff, you're looking at Taurus and the ruler Venus and the second house, all the Taurus stuff. And it does represent our economy and our ecology. So both of those words start with ECO, which is about the environment. We have ecology and economy. They are connected. They're about our environment, our literal ecology with our plants and our literal environment, and then our financial environment. And there is something that is the same about those two energies. And curiously, as we see this ecological concern in our current times, we also notice an economic concern in that current time. Taurus represents money because it stands for self-value. It's those physical things that we find pleasurable, we enjoy them, and so we develop them. It's about developing our resources. So whatever we value, we want more of it. We want to accumulate it. So we develop it. And then our resources, which might be our money or whatever, we use to buy things of value. So it's those possessions, it's the things that we value. So it's got this connotation of value and money and developing, and it's what we self-develop. Scorpio, on the other hand, is other people's values, other people's resources, and the idea of having shared values or shared interest, merged interest. So with Taurus, I develop my stuff, my pot of resources, what I find valuable. And then in Taurus, it's about the exchange. It's about the business factor, where I have these resources and they have those resources, and so let's exchange them. Or I have these resources and they have those resources, so let's combine our resources and then we have a bigger overall pot of resources. So that's the concept of Scorpio. It's the exchange factor, and it's the merging factor when it comes to value and resources. Scorpio can sometimes, there's a high level and a low level with Scorpio. If you are trying to take someone else's resources, that like a parasite or a vampire, that is part of the Scorpio thing, but it is the lower level of it. The highest level is merging. It's a good exchange, but we too get into those shadowy places with Scorpio sometimes. But so that idea of value. So that's going to tie in with self-esteem also. Taurus also indicates our self-worth, our self-esteem. And you may notice that there is a connection in part between somebody's self-esteem and self-worth and their self-value and their bank account. The amount of money that they develop, their resources, and the development and accumulation of resources in some way internally reflect where the self-value is. And I've noticed something recently that kind of spurred this, which was, if you've ever noticed how some people might like to throw shade on other people's things in some way to, oh my God, I can't believe they like that show. That is so stupid. Or, oh my gosh, can you believe people do that? Or, wow, their work looks like, tearing it down, throwing shade, all of that. What side of the spectrum does that behavior come from? It comes from Scorpio. And it's connected to Taurus. It's an axis, so both of them are activated. But people that do that have a very low self-worth, self-value, which means a deficiency in Taurus. And so then they are using a surplus of Scorpio energy to then in that case, they're doing this. They are tearing something else down in an attempt to rally support from others that will feel the same way. So, oh my gosh, I hate some TV show. That show is so stupid. And then I'm saying that to rally other people that think it's stupid too. I'm getting more of that energy. And so that magnetizes and sticks, and so then there's a sense of feeling more powerful. We're more powerful than that stupid TV show. I'm better than that. I'm bigger than that, and I've got all of this support. So it bolsters an insecure, insufficient amount of Taurus self-worth energy in that case. We can also see people that are like, gosh, their art or their stuff is so much better than mine. Mine will never be that good. Oh, they're so great. That's also a Scorpio game that reflects a low self-worth. It's a little bit more overt, because in that case, you're seeing that other people have all the resources, and so it's the idea of, gosh, yours is so good, mine is so poor. Let me, I praise you so that I can siphon energy off of yours. I love your stuff. I want to siphon your resources. Whereas the other one is, oh my God, that's so stupid. That's so stupid. And I get other voices that are grumbling with that to make my sense of worth more. So I'm merging with others who hate to bolster self-worth, or I'm seducing and how wonderful it is so that I can have those resources. But both of those games are essentially Scorpio flavor games that make up for a deficiency in Taurus. If we flip the script, Taurus is a very self-contained type of energy. It knows what it likes what it likes, you're not going to budge it, it's stubborn, it's all of those kind of qualities. But if we have a surplus of Taurus energy, and we're weak in Scorpio energy, those are going to be the energies that are, they know what they want, and they don't really care what other people think about it. And they're not really concerned with playing with others or investing with others. They want more of their stuff. Like, I really like making this creation, and I'm going to keep doing it, and I don't really care what anybody else says. Actually, I don't even want to talk to anybody else and find out, because I know I like this, and I'm so sure and secure in liking this, I'm going to keep developing it. And it feels good to me, so I don't care what anybody else thinks. The thing that can happen with that Taurus can miss out on the opportunity to merge and invest with someone else that, like, okay, I really like this, I know I like this, but there could be someone else with shared values that, oh wow, we kind of like the same thing, oh cool, let's make it bigger. Or, I like this, and you've got something that could go with it, so maybe, what do I have that you like? I need to figure out, Scorpio psychology, I need to figure out what I have that you like, so I can exchange the resources. So Taurus strength can develop itself very full, but have a problem playing with others, sharing with others in that respect. So in that end of the axis, it's a really strong self-worth when Taurus is built up, but it may not see as much value in other people's stuff, and it doesn't feel the need to merge or share as much. Whereas when something is weak in Taurus and strong in Scorpio, it's very resourceful at getting what it wants from others one way or another, either by seducing and entrancing to draw in from the actual target, or if you don't like the target, or the target, you attack the target, then the energy throws shade to get other energies that are similarly squirrely and want to throw shade all together, so it feels bigger. I'm part of this group that all hates that thing, or that all, even if it's something I secretly like, but I don't want to show that. I want to tear it down because it's bigger than me. That kind of idea. We also can see in the physical world the Taurus and the Scorpio axis. The Taurus energy is going to be like the Empress card, the lush abundance of Mother Nature and flowers and earth, and it's the material 3D world. It's all the beauty of the 3D world. It's also the most solid of those earth signs, and so it can get overgrown. And so this concept of idolatry is also part of Taurus. You're talking about that Bible story where Moses was mad they were worshiping the golden bull. Well, we're going in that one from the age of Taurus into the age of Aries, so it's like a new paradigm, but that golden bull is representative of worshiping matter, because Taurus does stand for the world of matter, all the stuff that is, pleasurable, and the sensations, the sense experience of the physical 3D brick and mortar world is Taurus. And so if you have too much of that, you may worship matter. Or money, adultery. It's when you value the shell over what animates it. Venus rules Taurus on a mundane level, but when you go higher into the esoteric and hierarchical realms, the hypothetical planet Vulcan rules that. Well, what does that mean? Vulcan is the craftsman, and Vulcan as an energy works so that it takes a chunk of matter and carves it and refines it into some beautiful work of art that reflects the inner divinity. Everything is alive with energy, and if you're carving something, you're conscious. So consciousness and energy is pulling that out from a brick of matter. So the real purpose to Taurus is Taurus shows us the beauty that can be physically manifested that's based on something inside, inspired within. And it's about carving the material world to showcase those inner spiritual the inside dimensions, the artistic realm of inspiration. So matter is a vessel to hold the inspiration in a form. And so the real beauty is that inspiration. It's that which comes from within. But when we get lost in the object and objectify it, we get toward idolatry, and then we worship and we value just that, just the physical product, and not where from it came. So that essence of matter. So if the world of matter becomes too lush and abundant and overgrown, it's rampant, that's when the opposite but equal Scorpio energy comes through to prune. That's where you get pruning and harvesting and death, and you got to trim the weeds back when you get too much of that. And so that Scorpio also brings those deep, intense crises type experiences that make us question the solidarity of things. We can get so stuck in our material world that we have not considered deeper or behind the scenes types of things, and death will do that. If though, on the other hand, like what if you've got this overabundance of Scorpio energy, which is crisis after crisis after, it's just this dark, intense, that type of energy. If you have an overabundance of that, or too much psychology, or you're too much in everybody else's business and all of that type of stuff, the opposite but equal pull of Taurus, like something rock solid and stable, grows out of that crisis. It's kind of like a plant coming out of a crack in the sidewalk. If you have just a sea of chaos, something will learn how to pop up in that sea of chaos, and be solidly planted, and then grow, develop, and grow from that. And through those crises, people figure out what is that rock solid part, that real self-sustaining Taurus part that we can have as a platform, as a rock, as something solid. And so it does build out of that, the same way that out of an abundance of comfort and physicality and that overgrowth, something will shake it up, something will make us question, there will be a loss. So in the midst of too much growth, we may experience the loss and deaths of Scorpio. In the midst of the chaos and darkness and intensity of Scorpio, we may experience something that represents the growth of Taurus, the beginning of something solid. We also see that, in that Taurus is this physical world, the material world. The opposite but equal to that is the invisible world, and that is why Scorpio is governing the invisible depths of the mysteries of life, like sex and death and past lives and DNA, ancestry, souls, all of that invisible realm. And it's also in the more mundane psychology. Psychology is that it's an invisible consideration. It's something that is in the mind, inside all of these fleshy vessels, which are the body is more of a Taurus physicality. So there's that invisible side to Scorpio. So in those different ways, Scorpio and Taurus are married together. You can't have one without the other, but it's just fun to look at the ways that they play and interact. And you can see that if there is an abundance, whether it's through self-esteem, through money, through over materiality, if you have an abundance of energy on one side, you will likely see a deficiency on the other, but the scales balance back and forth. An intense pull on one will create an intense pull on the other due to the law of rhythm, or the principle of rhythm. Other things that I could say, Scorpio at its highest level is about taking the battle of the soul to understand the hidden and the occult dimensions of things, and basically not burning ourselves. Scorpio is an energy that if it's misused, it burns us. It is self-destructive when the Scorpio energy is misapplied. The same way that when the Taurus energy is misapplied, it locks us in, it confines us, it walls us up in the realm of matter. So we're in this box of matter that we can't see beyond. Too much Taurus, too much materiality. Too much Scorpio, too much self-destructive tendency. There is the element of death and destruction is part of Scorpio, until that merging aspect, that exchange factor. Eventually, hey, if we keep it, I've got these resources, Taurus, and I see you've got these resources, Scorpio. After we exchange for a while, and that becomes mutually beneficial, I'm not taking more or giving more, then it becomes like, hey, we both have resources, other needs, let's build a business together. And so you merge assets. And so that is the highest level of Scorpio, but it's actually about merging with our higher self, merging with God's source, merging with something in that capacity. Scorpio gets into those invisible realms at a very high level, but we can see it outpictured through physical things like business, which at this time we can totally see in our world how business may not have been doing its business in a way that is at the benefit of all. And the fact that we see the economy breaking, and we have these challenges with like a virus that suggests the ecology breakdown, it's almost as if something has to prune the Taurus energy. And so we're seeing Scorpio things come in. We've been too locked into the box of materiality and not looking outside of it. Very secular, very concerned with what we value. That whole idea of greeding and hoarding and worshiping money, we could definitely agree probably that there are quite a few powerful people in that pocket. So we have an overgrown collective sense of materiality and money and self-worth, and not really that energy, not really wanting to play with others or care what others think. It's just about accumulating more of that, and to the degree that Scorpio is being activated, it's probably in those lower realms with what can I take away? How can I turn out to be on top of the situation? A lot of businesses behaving in that lower end Scorpio versus how can we make this a fair transaction? The rulers of Scorpio in the soul level are Mars again, which is the battle of the soul versus the battle of the personality at the lower level. But at its highest level, it's Mercury. Mercury is the hierarchical ruler of Scorpio. And so there is the connotation of understanding how to navigate the deep complexities of life and how to have a sharp mind in dark places, and wheel and deal, but all of those merchant things are part of Scorpio at a highest level, but it's about the understanding. And you still have to do good business, knowing how all the secrets work, and then using that to do bad business. You may be able to climb to a high spot to do that bad business, but it ends up burning oneself. When someone is not doing a fair exchange or doing good business, or if someone is sucking too much off of someone else's resources, like a leech or a vampire, because, oh, you've got it together, I'm just going to keep taking from you. Or if the Scorpio is saying, oh, those other businesses or those other companies are stupid, gaining other support and then devouring that one. Both of those approaches eventually weaken the self-sustainability, the Taurus end of that spectrum, that as Scorpio is getting activated to stay alive in its resourceful manner, it kind of atrophies the Taurus component. It locks it in more by not having true internal self-sustainability, self-worth, self-resources. Scorpio has to stay alive on other people's stuff. And the more that it stays alive on other people's stuff, the weaker its stuff is. It's like that Taurus, whatever Taurus it does have, really locks down. It really becomes like a rock, like impenetrable. Versus when things are flowing and there's a movement, Taurus is still going to grow. It's going to develop. But if I'm using everybody else's resources and staying alive, Scorpio, then Taurus stops growing. It can stunt it. And eventually there can be self-destructive tendencies from all of that Scorpio dabbling that can diminish that self-worth, self-resources, and all of that. So it's a lot of fun to look at these as themes. I'm not talking about, if your sun sign is a Scorpio or a Taurus. I'm looking at these energetic themes because they're processes. That self-esteem one is super important too, because it outpictures in the things like money and business and physical stuff. But I'd encourage everybody to pay attention to the link between your self-esteem, your self-value, which you may see reflected in your self-finances, but then also in the way that we do business with others, as far as, do we give all our power away to others that we think are saviors and then try to siphon off of them because they've got it together and I just can't get it together? Or do we have a low self-esteem and then say, oh, I want to attack that thing that has more power than me. That thing is stupid. And try to get other people to agree. So I feel stronger. I'm part of a team that hates that one, and maybe we'll even get rid of them at some point. Those just reflect poor self-resources and self-sustainability, and it's just very, it's loud when you hear it out in the world. The better road, or the higher road with that, would be that when you see other people's stuff or other business going on, whether it is whatever it is, and to look at it with like a watcher, without judgment, impartially. How about that? They're going to do it that way. Wow. So it's just a way of looking at the other people, the other businesses, the other resources as, instead of judging it as, oh my God, it's so much better, or oh my gosh, I hate that. When you do that, you set up a powerful drive one way or another. Whereas if you can stay calm and cool and detached without the judgment, it doesn't affect you. You don't let it affect your resources, whatever they're doing, and you stay to your own Taurus resources in a sense. But in the name of balance, when you are clear about what someone else's, another business, another thing has and what you have, you're in a position to be clear about, well, they're doing it that way and I don't need any part of that, and it's none of my concern, I don't invest. Or you could say, they're doing it that way, I really like that. I wonder how we could work together. What are they? Is there a part of what they've got that I could work with? And that's where you do a shared. You merge. You exchange those resources, which in a healthy situation, a healthy scenario, Taurus and Scorpio have to flow between each other. There has to be a flow. I hope I've illustrated things get too much on one end or the other, you can have problems. Because if if you're too much like, oh, I don't care what anybody else thinks, and you have too much Taurus again, you could miss out on an investment that could increase your resources by merging with something else. So you miss out with too much Taurus and not enough Scorpio. You miss out on the ability to play with others by merging assets or sharing things. And you can also miss out on some of those deeper mysteries of life. If you just enjoy sitting around and licking the icing off your fingers and the fine jewelry and the money and the massages and the plush furniture and the nice clothes, all the material things, you can miss out on the dimensions of the soul. You can miss out on psychology, the mysteries of sex and death, and like all of these deeper investigations to go on. Scorpio is all about investigating underneath it all, underground, behind the scenes, all of that, which if you're just too much in your own box, that kind of stuff doesn't come out as much. That's why eventually if you're too much in your own box with your own stuff, eventually Scorpio experiences show up in the form of loss, debt, death, drastic, intense change, something that will break open your box so that some new life can come in and make you question some things beyond the physicality. Flipping it over again, if you have too much of this depth diving, investigating into the invisible, other people's resources, constantly involving yourself in other energies, others' dramas and stuff like that, you can get so wrapped up in all that you don't develop your own resources. You're so into everybody else's values, everybody else's resources, or the invisible dimension of life that you neglect the physical dimensions of life. And so at that point, if you dive into those depths constantly, in Scorpio's land, burning experiences happen. It is a land of change and transformation and fire. It's Mars boiling in deep water. So it's deep, hot, boiling water. It boils out all sorts of unique stuff, but if you swim in it all day, you get burned a few times. After you get burned with too much of that, something will kind of congeal together. You'll develop kind of a really solid piece at the core that something material grows from. It has to have some kind of, like a kernel, like a seed that kind of gets pressurized from all of that. So too much Scorpio energy will manifest some amount of Taurus experience to help balance it out as well. I think I have covered most of those kind of things I wanted to. I hope that this has been educational and informative and fun to look at Taurus and Scorpio another way. Right now we have Uranus in Taurus, so all sorts of new resources and disruptions to set systems of ecology and economy are right on time. And we do see Scorpio quite active in that we just had Saturn conjunct Pluto, which Pluto is one of the big ambassador planets for Scorpio. So we are in this process of purging and bringing the battle of the soul to the forefront and really getting questioning about what has true value, what has real value. And all of these systems that have false value are getting awakened very quickly so that we can get a true sense of value on the table. But it all comes from within. We all have to develop our own sense of inner value to have that platform, that rock, that Taurus energy in order to be able to do business. You can't exchange resources with somebody else if you haven't developed your own resources. If you haven't developed your own resources, you're going to be in a situation where you feel like you have to siphon everybody else's resources. You're going to have to be clever and seductive and charismatic, and all of these Scorpio things to draw in resources from other places when you don't develop your own resources. And so that's something I would call people to consider. Let's say I want to flip that in the opposite side. If you don't develop your own, you have to go through everybody else's. If you don't develop connections with other people, you have to stay in your own bubble. You can only have your resources. You limit yourself on the opposite side for those investments, those sharing, those deeper moments, those psychological depths. Taurus could just stay in its own room with its favorite things, making more of that all day. So if you get locked up in that, you can miss out on the ability to share resources with other people, to find something new, to add value, to add hidden value. Taurus knows its value, but Scorpio's hidden value. So if you don't engage with that in that business exchange transaction, you can miss out on others' values that could contribute to your own and even transform it in a big way that makes it bigger than what it could have been before. So play with those energies, have fun. I'm going to wrap it up now for real. Thanks for tuning in. If you find this stuff of interest and you want to hear more from me, you can check me out on Instagram at leadintogold or my website www.leadintogold.com, and that is LEAD, the letter N, the number